Descent of the Demon God. By Hanjo Wiolia. Chapter 93. Sky Demon Order. Part 1. Cho Hyungyamo was terrified and shouted at the National Guards. What are you all looking at? Shoot him. Clack. About 300 infantrymen, who weren't even sure whose orders they were supposed to follow anymore, aimed their guns at Chen Yowan. The problem, however, was that there were survivors between Chen Yowan and the infantry. Kayak. Stop. The bewildered survivors screamed and crouched in order not to get hit. At that moment, a huge wall of flame appeared in front of the infantry. Weak. Ah. Flame. It was Huban. Even before Chen Yowan had appeared, he was getting ready to fight them all. Who dares touch my lord? The infantrymen were blocked by the flames. Your sin is to wish death upon my lord. Huban reached out his hand, and the flame wall covered the entire infantry. There was no way that infantry, which was made of normal humans, could stop that. Quack. Spare me. Flame. In an instant, the entire place turned into a sea of flame. Those inside the flame screamed in fear. It was hell. What is this? Cho Hyungyamo couldn't believe what was happening in front of his eyes. Two people able to annihilate the entire force. I need to run away. Cho Hyungyamo, who thought that, staggered as he got up. Was it true that the body could move if the will to live existed? His body rose right away. But unfortunately, it didn't rise because of his will. I can't move. It was due to Chen Yowan. Step. Eik. When Chen Yowan approached him, fear overwhelmed Cho Hyungyamo. I am the head of the internal security, which is under the council. If you want anything, I can give it to you. Money or power or anything. Father and son are so similar. At those words, Cho Hyungyamo yelled. If you kill me, a member of the government, then you are. Grab. Who would even care about your death? What? Puk. Chen Yowan's fingers pierced the man's neck. Cough. Shh. A blue-colored light flowed from the black wrist guard on Chen Yowan's right hand. The light went into the holes in Cho Hyungyamo's neck, and his life was sucked out. Quack. His skin turned pale white as if he was killed by a ghost. Shoo. A ghost would soon come out of the body. I need to get rid of it. As his hand reached out to the falling body, the wrist guard trembled. And the ghost dispersed before it formed. Oh. It was possible to annihilate the ghosts without even doing much. This seemed extremely convenient. Then, Chen Yowan approached Commander Mac, who was on the ground. With bullets in both his thighs, he was in pain and pale from the bleeding. The pain must have been unbearable, but probably because he was a commander, he kept enduring it. With a pale face, Commander Mac asked Chen Yowan, "Are you going to kill me too?" Chen Yowan smiled at that. I like you. And he reached out to the wounded area. And zzz. Quack. The two bullets lodged inside the commander's thighs were pulled out. Chen Yowan, who brought out the bullets, threw them away. Ta-ta-tack. And when he sealed the blood points on the thighs, the bleeding stopped. After that, Chen Yowan snapped his finger. Weak. Jiik. Ack. Flames flickered around the wounded area. At the pain, Mak Wuchong groaned in pain. You won't die right away now. Ah. At those words, Mak Wuchong looked at his wounds. In an instant, the bullets were out, and the wounds were sealed. But this was just a temporary measure. As a soldier, he knew that a bullet shot had to be given medical treatment. Why are you saving me? Puzzled, Mak Wuchong asked. It is a waste to leave someone like you to die here. The man was lucky. If he didn't stand up for his beliefs, he would have died like the others. What if I decide to go out and open my mouth? Then I must have misunderstood you. At that answer, Mak Wuchong's eyes fluttered. Men sometimes had emotional changes in the most strange situations. He was recognized by an unknown stranger, but that pleased his heart. Tak. Mak Wuchong put his hands together and bowed to Chen Youwen. I heard that warriors express gratitude like this. He wanted to get up and thank him, but his legs were both wounded, and he couldn't risk getting up. Well, no need. I just did that on a whim. With that, Chen Youwen turned his back, no longer interested. Mak Wuchong hurriedly said to him, I want to repay the favor. Please tell me. I would like to help you in whatever way I can. When Chen Youwen turned around, the man looked very friendly. He seemed to really care. Was he the commander of the National Guard? Chen Youwen looked at him. If he was a commander, then he must be someone in the line to be a major. In addition, with the achievement of closing an S-class gate, the man would be more famous. It might be worth it. Chen Youwen wasn't interested in the government at all. But seeing this man, he changed his thoughts. The man looked useful. Nano. Are you done? The function you mentioned has been modified. The timing was good. Chen Youwen approached the man. Show me your hand. Hand? At the unexpected request, he held out his hand. Chen Youwen raised the energy and wounded the palm. Mak Wuchong frowned at the stinging pain. Chen Youwen placed a finger on the palm and lifted it. Done. The man didn't know what was done. However, he heard Chen Youwen's voice in his mind. Can you hear me? It was strange. Chen Youwen clearly didn't open his mouth, but he heard him talking. When you want to talk to me, think strongly. He wasn't sure if it was possible, but Commander Mak wanted to try it. And when he thought of wanting to talk, he felt something strange tickle his head. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can hear this? I hear you. Gasp. Mak Wuchong couldn't hide his shock. Because he was in the National Guard, he always got to experience the new communication devices, but this was a first. Chao. You don't need to know. Knowing wouldn't do him any good either. The man's brain now had a modified nanobomb. Nano, which remodeled the nanobomb particles, made it easy to track and communicate. This seemed like a great strength to use. Not knowing gives you peace. His head would explode any time if he recklessly decided to disclose what he spoke with Chen Youwen. To the surprised man, Chen Youwen said, You said you wanted to repay the favor? Why, yes. Then let's make a deal to help each other. Deal? Mak Wuchong was puzzled. What is it? Shoo. Chen Youwen opened the bag and showed him something. The S-class core in it made Mak Wuchong's eyes glow bright. The core. He still couldn't figure out what the deal was. You caught the S-class core? Yes. At those words, Mak Wuchong grew excited. It hadn't been long since the gate was destroyed, so he was curious who did it. What about the team? I caught it myself. The Alpha, all alone? The commander turned speechless. He knew that gatekeepers and warriors had abilities. But they had limits too. Even an A-class core was tough to catch without assistance. Did he do something almost impossible even for an S-class gatekeeper? If someone else had said it, he wouldn't have believed it. Who would even believe that an S-class alpha was caught by one person? Only you need to know this. At those words, Commander Mak nodded his head. The deal is simple. Let me know if any A-class or S-class gates open in the future. I want to come. That is all? This was a simple suggestion. And Commander Mac would be the one gaining from it. Chen Yuan said it lightly, but it was as if this man had promised to take care of the A-class and S-class gates, the worst disasters. That will help you too. Help me? Closing an A-class gate was treated as public service. And in the case of an S-class gate, which was impossible to close, even a promotion could be given. It was more like being helped than making a deal. One more thing. We need something like a permission for me and my subordinates to freely roam when the gates open. So you are not a member of the association or a registered Miram? If they belong to the Miram Association, then they could all freely participate. Of course, it all happened under the guidance and control of the National Guard. I don't belong to the Miram Association. Ah. And I don't like people controlling me. What Chen Yuan wanted was to roam freely, without anyone intervening during the gate opening. He could sneak in, but it would be a mess if he got caught. You want to participate in the gate wars independently. Now that was tricky. It would have been a different story if it was Chen Yuan alone, but he mentioned something about subordinates. The Miram department of the State Council strictly controlled the Miram warriors under them and blocked individual participation. The first is possible if I write a report, but the second one comes under the Ministry of Miram, and it might be difficult. The Ministry of Miram had extreme power and had policies like other departments. However, the defense couldn't get involved with the Mirams, since friction could rise. Are you being on caution because of the Mirams? At Chen Yuan's words, which were close to provocation, Mak Wucheng frowned. A line that no department would ever cross. Politics is what it is. Let me be honest. When the gate happens, we need all the power we can from the Miram warriors. But it is the Ministry of Miram which has all the powers. So each department kept a close eye on another. It was impossible to close the gate with just the gatekeepers, especially with alphas. It is a policy of the Ministry of Miram that those who aren't registered cannot participate in the gate. As you said, granting the right to participate in the war as individuals would be denied by the ministry. He must be smart. Chen Yuan shook his head. This policy was made to exert influence over the defense. The answer is simple. Huh? Without being on the side of the Miram Association or of the Ministry of Miram, there should be an organization that could support the gate problem in close connection with the Ministry of National Defense. Right, but Mak Wucheng couldn't keep up with this. The Ministry of Miram had a Miram department, which handled over 2,000 associations. It wouldn't be easy for the Ministry of National Defense to accept an organization unless it was on the same level as the Miram Association. It might be difficult. But arrange a meeting with the head of National Defense. Are you talking about the director of the Ministry of National Defense? When the request grew bigger, Commander Mac went pale. Although you might be right, unless your organization is on the same level as the Miram Association, it wouldn't obtain approval. Commander Mac thought of Chen Yuan's side to be a small group. Chen Yuan said, "What are you so afraid of? Aren't you taking this too easy?" Shoo! Before he could finish it, Chen Yuan stretched out his hand and held the air like holding a sword. Patchik! A dazzling black light flashed around, and an invisible sword appeared. It was the invisible sword of Black Thunder Chi. Of Thunder Chi and Sky Demon Energy. What is this? Puzzled by the sudden action, he asked, but Chen Yuan pointed to somewhere with the sword. A mountain range stretched to the northwest side within the wall. Patchik! At that moment, a tremendous amount of black lightning flew to one point. Papak! The rays of lightning, which passed through air, went for the mountain. Kwak-kwak-kwang! A huge hole was drilled within the mountain. The hole was so wide that everyone could see the other side. Mak Wucheng was so shocked that he couldn't close his mouth. And no way! Was it possible to do that? A single human showed a destructive power that no military machine could perform. Chen Youwen looked at Mak Wuchong. What about the Murim Association? Mak Wuchong looked at the man in awe. This man was never arrogant. This man knew what he could do. What should I tell the director of the Ministry of National Defense about the organization you are running? Chen Youwen smiled and answered. Sky Demon Order. Chapter 94. Sky Demon Order. Part 2. Hu Bong couldn't stop being restless and kept on wandering around. His gaze was unable to stop at any particular place. Weak. The inside of the cave where Hu Bong was looking had been in flames for over an hour now. So he was full of concern. Hu Bong. Be calm. Yuk. Yes. Only after hearing Chen Youwen's words did Hu Bong stand still. Of course, that didn't last very long. Hu Bong's body moved again, and he was just as restless as before. Soon, the flames in the cave subsided a little. And someone appeared from inside. It was Man Ranyang. Honey! Hu Bong ran to her with tears in his eyes. I am not getting used to this. Chen Youwen was shocked each time he saw this different appearance of Hu Bong. Man Ranyang seemed different when she came out of the cave. Her hair, which was dyed in black, was now blazing red like Hu Bong's. Besides, her hair grew long. In addition, the contours on her face were much clearer, and it seemed like she looked even younger. She seems to have been through metamorphosis of skeletal bones. Metamorphosis. It referred to the reconstruction of bones and muscles into the best version of the body. However, it is probably right to say that she didn't change because of a growth in level, but her body just returned to the previous state because of gaining strength. Kneel. My lord. Avoiding Hu Bong's hug, Man Ranyang kneeled to Chen Youwen. Thanks to you, I am back to normal. Man Ranyang had taken the blood of the flame Qilin and regained her power. Her eyes were not confident. And the aura she was emanating was unusual. It feels good, but... Chen Youwen was surprised. He thought that it was strange for her body to have undergone changes when she hadn't attained any enlightenment. Even if she was at the beginning of Supreme Master level, this is much different from what he experienced. She was stronger, and he could feel it. You have made a lot of progress, Great Elder. You are being too generous. She was originally a Supreme Master. Even in the past, she was on the same level as the 5 great warriors, but now, except for Chen Youwen, there seemed like no one else could compete with her. Therefore, even if her dantian was damaged, she could still defeat those targeting her. This is enough. Hu Bong and Man Ranyang. With those two joining him, he knew that his orders would be carried safely. Although Chen Youwen himself was the strongest here, there were few adherents in the Sky Demon Order of this era. There were many warriors who were strong, and the strategies one used were diversified. Great Elder. Yes. Lord Chen Ma. She confidently answered him. Put some clothes on. Her face turned red. It was normal for all her clothes to be burned when metamorphosis happened. Fortunately, Chen Youwen, who knew that, predicted the burning of clothes and prepared an extra pair of clothes for her. Honey. Here. Chuck. Hu Bong brought the clothes to her. Man Ranyang smiled at her young husband and quickly put on her clothes. Chen Youwen then asked her. Are you done? Yes. Now extend both your arms. Huh? Man Ranyang was puzzled by that. Hu Bong said with a crying face. Honey. You might want to defend yourself with internal energy. What do you mean? Eventually, she understood why Hu Bong said that. Chen Youwen, who was in a nano suit, hugged the two of them and flew at 13 Mach speed. Papa Peng. My face. It was the first time she experienced such pain in her face. Yongchun Group headquarters in Jinan City. In a small meeting room, the executives have gathered. Someone was receiving the reports in awe. Is that true? It was the chairman, Chen Yujing. The person reporting to him was Bai Mak-hien, the vice chairman's assistant. Bai Mak-hien had reported what had happened in the recent meeting. Having heard about it, Chen Yujing went still. Chen Yusong and his faction were wiped up. He thought that since they were all descendants, they would be punished and not killed. However, no exceptions were made. I must never have ill intentions towards my ancestor. Even if they were descendants, there was no mercy in his heart. He thought that Chen Youan would excuse them for the sake of uniting the cult, but everyone was killed. This is the demon god. The legend who created the second great sky demon order. He knew that there was a lot of blood spilled behind that legend, but no one knew the truth. And now, since they heard it firsthand, not just Chen Yujing, but all the other executives were afraid of Chen Youan once again. As expected, Master is wonderful. The only one who liked this side of Chen Youan was the secretary, Shekina. Cough. Bai Mak-hien didn't say anything to them. He wasn't sure how the executives would react if he said that this woman had eaten up the bodies of the Chen Yusong faction. This woman is more frightening. Chen Youan is the head of the Sky Demon Order. But this woman was different. Her identity wasn't a human, but a demon, a special type entity from Gate. I need to give separate advice to the chairman and the executives later. He was afraid that they could get into trouble with Shekina. And only Chen Youan could control her. Then Shekina abruptly got up from her seat and walked to the window. Everyone was curiously looking at her. Master is coming. With those words, she put her palm on the window. And the window turned transparent. Shh. 3 people passed through it. Lord Chen Ma. It was Chen Youan, Hu Bong and Mun Ranyang. Chen Yujing and the others got up startled and then bowed on the floor at the same time. Chen Youan never seemed to have entered through the entrance. Vice Chairman. His secretary, Yu Sohua, approached him and bowed. She was currently adjusting to the predictable behavior of Chen Youan. Hey! Master! Shekina tried to hug Chen Youan, but Mun Ranyang stopped her. Get away! Shekina glared at the woman with an anguished expression. Human bitch! What is with you? It is starting again. Yu Sohua, who was watching, shook her head. But like Shekina, she was curious about the 2 people too. From the eyebrows to hair, everything on their bodies was red, like a blazing flame. And it looked natural, not dyed. Huh. Shekina's body turned invisible to some extent. She reached out to Mun Ranyang to threaten her. I told you to get away. Mun Ranyang tried to grab her hand. However, due to the ability of phasing, Mun Ranyang's hand passed through. Oh? If you don't move, I will pull your heart out. Human. Saying that, she reached out to Mun Ranyang's chest. At that moment, Mun Ranyang's hand, which was red and heat, hit Shekina on her chest. Weak. Ah. Hot. Shekina was startled and stepped back. She thought that her phasing ability would damage her, but heat seemed to work on her. Shake. She couldn't understand, so she looked at Mun Ranyang's hand. The air around her hand seemed to be hazing because of the heat. As a current divine master, she too was able to freely control her surroundings. As a result, she was able to transmit heat to Shekina's body. You are strong. Shekina's eyes were filled with joy. Due to her warlike nature, she wanted to see who was superior. Let's try again. Shekina rushed like lightning towards Mun Ranyang and tried to kick her. But there was one thing that Shekina didn't know. Mun Ranyang was a member of the Dragon Fist clan. Saw. Mun Ranyang was already prepared and then made sure to bounce off the foot of Shekinah with her palm. She then grabbed the head and slammed it into the ground. Shh. Ack. She had no choice but to stop the phasing ability as the heat was being transmitted into her head. Bang! Her head was violently smashed into the ground. Without the ability of phasing, she was not able to cope with the Divine Master, Mun Ranyang. Her power was nothing in front of Mun Ranyang. Don't delude yourself. Chun Ma is not someone who cares for you. Mun Ranyang warned Shekinah, whose head was stuck to the floor. She can't handle a Divine Master level. Chen Yuan smiled as his guess turned out right. Normally, he would have ordered Shekinah to stop running wild, but he left her alone this time to show her that there were others who could subdue her. Just a little more awakening and Great Elder. Then she would be able to control the entire space around her and not just the space around the body. Of course, for that to happen, she would have to be at the peak of Divine Master level. Got what you deserved. Yusowa's lips twitched. She barely held herself from laughing. She always wanted to see that demon suffer, and it was undoubtedly refreshing. As her pride was hurt in front of everyone, she thought that Shekinah would lay low for a while. Thud. Shekinah jumped up from the floor and grabbed Mun Ranyang's hand with sparkling eyes. I'll accept you as my sister. She seemed to recognize Mun Ranyang as her older sister. Due to the nature of demons, they wanted to be close to people stronger than them. Yusowa felt upset again. Yongchuan's group's conference room was full of surprises. Chen Yujing and the other executives who found out about Hu Bong and Mun Ranyang thought they were losing their minds. What was more interesting was their reaction to Hu Bong rather than Mun Ranyang. Flame Hu Bong. Demon God's right arm. Burning Swordsman. Titles kept flowing out from the executives' mouths. Although Chen Yuan didn't realize it, Hu Bong, as his right hand, had performed so many tasks after he disappeared. He was more famous than any other member of the cult. Of course, the title of the right hand, which served Chen Yuan, the demon god, played a huge role. Ahem. Hu Bong, who was unfamiliar with the titles the future descendants were giving him, was flustered. But he slowly began to feel proud. These are better than Bong Bong. Chen Yuan wasn't shocked by these new titles. Looking at Hu Bong, he could see how much he had changed and improved. The eyes of Bai Mak Hien, looking at Hu Bong, were filled with ecstasy. Hu Bong had a reputation for using the Sword of Illusion from the Illusion Sword clan. And it was a natural reaction when he met the most famous figure in the clan. Hu Bong. Yes, Lord. Bai Mak Hien is a descendant of the Illusion Sword clan. Oh. Is that true? Teach him everything and make him useful. Alright, Lord. Bai Mak Hien was moved by Chen Yuan's words and fell flat on the ground. Lord Chen Ma. This is such a blessing. The man was genuinely happy as he seemed to be crying. Chen Yuan looked at the room where the entire air seemed heated because of Hu Bong and Mun Ranyang. Everyone focused on him. Now is the time. What do you mean by that? At Chen Yujing's careful question, Chen Yuan opened his mouth. Now that we have sorted out the rest of the group, we will unite the cult by gathering the members. Huh? To bring in the rest of the group. Are you seriously asking me because you can't get what I am saying? Chen Yujing's eyes trembled at that. He did hear that the Chen Yusong faction, one of the three factions, had collapsed 20 minutes ago. However, according to what Chen Yuan said, he wanted to bring in the last remaining people in the Chen Yusong faction. Chen Yujing cleared his thoughts and then opened his mouth. Ancestor, is it fine to ask one question? Tell me. What happened to Chen Wuqiang? You should know what happens to those who pretend to be Chen Ma. Not just Chen Yujing, But all the other executives went silent. Chen Wuqian lost his life too. In the end, the fact that the two heads of the three factions were dead. I am the only one alive? The only candidate left was Chen Yujiang. This meant that the 27 years long war between the three factions had come to an end. He did all this in just a few days. It was so shocking. Everything was sorted out so quickly, although they have been quarreling for so many years. Is this the ability of those who have power? And Chen Youwen showed them all this directly. How much a strong person could achieve. And when they all saw that, Chen Yujiang realized what he was lacking as the Lord. I am not good enough. If he was Chen Yujiang of the past, he would have just been happy that the situation was resolved. But now, he was embarrassed. Now he was blaming himself for not achieving this with his own strength, and having to lean on Chen Youwen. Thud. Chen Yujiang knelt and said, Ancestor, I am extremely ashamed. I came to realize that I amount to nothing. Chen Yujiang bowed with tears in his eyes. And silence reigned in the room. Their leader realized his weakness and accepted the truth. Chen Youwen opened his mouth. You are lucky. Yes? If you showed joy and happiness, I was going to take you down too. Hearing Chen Youwen's words, Chen Yujiang felt his heart drop. Chen Youwen was not someone who would lie or spout useless nonsense. Cold sweat dripped down. Chachaka. It was then, the sound of iron clashing was heard. He looked up to see the Sky Demon sword. Sky Demon sword? Chen Yujiang flinched as he was frightened. It seemed like the Sky Demon sword was being brought out to kill him. But I hope that you will cherish what you have realized. When I think that you are not suitable anymore, then you will come down from the position at any time. The position? Shoo. Ah? Chen Youwen held the dazzling Sky Demon sword above his head and spoke in a low voice. I, Chen Youwen, the second Chen Ma and the 24th Lord of the Great Sky Demon Order, appoint Chen Yujiang, who inherited the great lineage of Chen, as the sub-lord of the cult,